Hello, Jerry Brimacombe here from Lightlever Systems. Just wanted to show you how to use our file migration tool. So first of all, an overview of the spreadsheet that you're looking at here and have downloaded. There are 5 main tabs here. So first of all, the migration process tab. So you'll see an overview of a migration process. This is pretty much a cut and paste from a very simple migration I was doing with another client. If you're doing a simple migration, this little listing may be all you need. Notice it's Word embedded in here, so you have to double click to see all of it. There's more than what you're seeing here. And go ahead and edit it for your needs. If you're doing a more complex migration, this will be a starting point only, perhaps raise some good questions, but you'll need to do some more planning and some more detailed work. But it's a good starting point, I think. The second tab is instructions. So this is the instructions on how to use this particular spreadsheet and the step-by-step that we'll be going through here in this video. Next, we have the main tab. We'll be doing most of our work in this main tab. The fourth tab is file listing. Comes out blank to start with, but you'll be pasting in your listing of files here to capture the file listing that will be migrated. And last, there is a sheet of parameters, which lists some things such as maximum file lengths and undesirable characters when you're migrating to SharePoint or Office 365. So in the instruction tab here, let's take a look. So first of all, step 1, open and save a copy of this Excel. So I've given a recommended naming convention, and I recommend following a naming convention, including the date in the file name. Makes it easier later to keep track of your migrations, and especially you're doing a lot of migration, different folders, different user groups or whatever. It's nice to have that copy source in there as well. Consider printing this sheet or have it on a second monitor to follow along. And now in Windows Explorer, we're going to navigate to the location we want to copy from. I'll show you that in a moment. And we're going to use Shift right click to open the command prompt in the directory above our sample. And we're going to use this command to actually generate a listing of commands. So this is the for files command, and it will just go ahead and recurse through all the subdirectories to run this command, which just echoes out the path and file name, etc., all separated by asterisks. So we'll have a string, a listing of files. Each line will have a path, file name, extension, etc., all with asterisks between each field. And that will be output. There's the output symbol to a file name that we specify. So I'm going to copy this command now. So just highlight that cell and Control C. And now I'm going to, let me just slap this to the left-hand side here and grab my X drive. So this is where I'm copying from, the GX sample. So as I said in the instruction, go to the folder above that I want to copy. So it's everything within sample that I'm going to be copying. And I use Shift and right click in the empty space here to open a command window here. So here's the command window popping up. And then I can paste in my command that I copied a moment ago. And it's actually trying to run there, which I didn't intend. Control C. What I want to do rather than run the command is I want to change the name. So sample file list dash and today's date, January 26th, and call it txt for a text file. Okay, I'll run that. And now it takes a little while to run because it's recursing through all those folders. Now this is only about 1,000 files we're dealing with, so it only took like 20 seconds. But if you're dealing with a lot more files, you know, you might need to go for coffee. So once that's finished running, which it is now, it will produce the output file. Here it is. And open up to take a look at it. So there's our listing of files that we just produced with that for files command. Let's look back at our instructions. So the next step is to load those files into Excel. So we open the file we generated with Notepad. There it is in Notepad. Copy everything in Notepad. Control A, Control C, and paste into the Excel file list tab. So here it is, file list. and then I'll show you the step-by-step to break that into delimited fields. So we'll go to File List, and I'm just going to paste here now with Control V. And so we still have all of our strings of characters, but of course we can use Excel's data text to columns to break that up into columns rather than just a string of text. And in fact, yes, it is a delimited field that we're using. The delimiter is not a tab, it is another, and the other is the asterisk. So we're using the star character as our delimiter. You can see it in the data there, right? I'm going to go next, and it starts to break the columns up now. And most of these columns, we're just going to leave them as the general data format, except for I want to make sure that the date field, which is a really important one, we actually tell Excel that that's a date field. So scroll right and highlight that date column. And up here, we're going to say, yes, it's a date, and make sure that this date format, in this case, year, month, day, matches the format that you see on your screen. Depending on your file system, that date format may come in differently. So in my case, it is in fact year, month, day. When you click Finish, it breaks up those strings into columns, okay? So let's take a look back at our instruction sheet here. So now we've done step 3. And let's save, Control S to save. So save frequently. Now we're going to generate our clean file names and start analysis. So what it says here, enter your source, destination, file path, and roots in cell A3 and A4. So the destination path is this G example, including the trailing backslash. I'm just going to copy that, Control C. In our main tab, we go to the top left, press home, or just go all the way up here. And the old path where we're copying from is Control V, GX sample. Again, keep the backslash at the end. And let's say that we're copying to X staging. So now on our instruction sheet, it says once you've entered those, review the highlighted transformations in cell S10 to A11. So this is on main tab again. So let me maximize this now because there's more to look at. So if we go over to these transformation fields, so in S10 up to A11, AL11, so these are different transformations that are going to happen on the file names and directory names as a result of this spreadsheet running. So it's a bunch of Excel formulas, but the main thing you need to notice, first of all, is in this first one, notice the comment that if you want to change to camel case, use proper of the old base path. So, which I have that set already. It's using the proper command. So all that does is every time it finds a separate word delineated by spaces or punctuation, it will put a initial cap on that. And then this next one is also a special one. Notice when I click on here, you don't see anything in the cell, but if you look in the formula bar, you'll see that there's actually a quote and a space. And we're changing that quote space to nothing, an empty cell. So in other words, we're removing spaces. So each of these is a transformation. So I want to change quotes to underscores, number signs to underscores, %20 to nothing, remove it altogether, ampersands to underscores. Maybe we're using the ampersand a lot, so you could change it to the word and if you want. So these are like parameters that the transformation commands down below here use to transform the strings of characters that are the file names. So once you've filled those in, then go back to A15 here, beginning of the sheet, and you're going to copy the file list here. So I want to leave behind that first row, which is blank. I'm going to select the first cell that's actually useful to me, and I'm going to hold down Control and Shift, and I'm going to press down arrow to select all 1014 rows, and then I'm going to press the right arrow a couple of times, also holding down Control and Shift. until I've highlighted all of my data there. So Control C to copy that back to main. And now I'm going to make sure that I'm in under the old path, far left, and right underneath the 14, the old path, without overwriting my formula row. And I'm going to press Control V to paste in my commands. And we just need to recalculate the sheet by pressing F9. So when you press F9, it goes ahead and does the calculations. And now we see there's 1,014 files, 56 megabytes. It's actually using these columns, the size and the dates and times, like the date of the oldest file shown, and all that stuff is actually being calculated now in the spreadsheet. And you'll see over here that we're starting to generate commands now, the command line, which we'll use in just a moment. And an example of how these transformations work, sales and marketing here. So that we don't want to have the ampersand. So here we go. And the command that's going to be generated is copying sample sales and marketing to sales and marketing. And notice the spaces are removed as well. Now those are all as a result of the transformations over here. So maybe if I just wanted to remove the word and altogether, I can do that. And now sales and marketing, if I recalculate F9, now sales and marketing just becomes sales marketing. Or if it was a dash instead of anything else, and recalculate with F9 again. So now it's sales dash marketing. So you see how that works. I'll leave it as. And so you can play with those manipulations. Now, as I said in the instructions, these are a lot of formulas, a lot of calculations. And if you have a large data set, you're going to have a very slow spreadsheet. So that's why, first of all, we have calculations turned to manual rather than automatic. And secondly, once you've decided on your calculations here, I highly recommend to go ahead and convert all of these formulas to just text rather than formulas, and then possibly even delete them. If you're going to do that, save a backup copy of the sheet first, because it's hard to go back and undo that. But once you've done your calculations, the next step here is to start using manipulations and filters, which you can do without those formulas being recalculated each time. So what we do is we use the filters here to start deciding what we're going to save. Now, one of the things that I've found works really well is to filter out, only show me non-directories. This folder is false. So only show me things that aren't folders, so files in other words. Because the command, the xcopy command we're using here, creates the folders automatically. So leave the folders out. Now what I like to do is use this keep yes or no column. The different filters capabilities are just really handy here. One of the most common ones we use is the date, and say, oh, well, you know what, I don't need to have 1999 or 2000, any of these old files. I'll just, remove them. So when I recalculate again, F9, I'll see that, oh, now I'm only looking at 2003 and newer files. Or maybe I'm going to be a little bit more draconian and just only keep the last 2 years. So you start to see how you can capture those and filter. And every time you filter, there's a list of commands here that's being filtered as well. And so what I like to do here is use this keep yes or no column if I'm doing any complex filtering, or if I'm working with my clients, or even asking them to fill in, do you want to keep these files, yes or no? So we could use this keep column by saying, yes, I've filtered for the 2014 and newer files. So let's start by saying, yes, we're going to keep those. So I'll copy this, yes, and I will use Control Shift down and Control V to paste to fill in that all those are yeses. And then I can use these new folder lengths and path lengths and such to make sure that I don't have any paths that are too long. So I can sort as well as filter there. And then I can use these folders. So let me sort by this. I can use the folders to say, oh yes, for example, I don't care the production folder, let's say, regardless of date, all of those commands are going to get copied across. So let me select all production and regardless of date, so I will clear the filter from date. And now I can take, and I'm just double checking that my filter's on for production and there's no other filters shown. So I'm going to take this yes, and I'm going to copy it down here and paste. Okay, so etc. You can do things, for example, different extensions are useful, or the file sizes, maybe there's some large files. And so you can use all those filter capabilities and fill in this keep yes or no as you go. Then we go back to our instructions tab. We review our list. There we are. That's what we've just been doing. Now we can generate commands. So the simple way to state it is filter the list based on what files or directories you want to copy, and then copy the commands. And now the other keep yes or no, I want to keep only the yeses. Okay. And clear all other filters so that you just have the keep flag, and in this case the folder flag, driving what we're going to actually copy. So now we have this list of commands. There are how many? 7 megabytes, 266 files. And then we're just going to copy the command line. So instructions, we're here, generate commands, F9 to recalculate, and copy the cells in column Q. So F9 to recalculate. I'm just going to click right here on the top of the command line column to select all of the data in there and Control C. I open up Notepad again, create a new file, Control V, and then looking back over at the instructions here, you'll see generating commands. We open Notepad, we've done that. Paste in the commands, we've done that. Save as all files. So if you don't select all files, it'll create a .txt file, but we want a .bat, a batch file. So file, save as, and change to all files. And I'm still working in that X folder on my passport drive there. So I'm going to save it as this name, .bat. So once you click save, saves that. And now if I look back at my directory here, I've got a batch file, a Windows batch file there. Then it's a case of running the batch file. So we're back in the command prompt window here again. And we're going to run the batch file by typing its name, or if I do a dir, you'll see it's here, .bat, and because I'm lazy, I'm going to start typing the name and press tab until I see my batch file name. There it is. Keep pressing tab. And then I use the pipe command to pipe the output. So one of the things that we want to be doing here is capturing any errors, or make sure that the batch file runs correctly. So capturing the output to, and I'm going to use the same name. So you have to have a space after the greater than to make this work, but press tab again. And I'll just see my name .bat, delete the .bat, change it to .log, a log file. And then I'm going to also output the error output to the same as the standard output. So just type that in exactly as it is, and that means all output from this command goes to that log file. And just press enter to run. This will fail because I don't have the right X drive set up. The drives are not in place, so it's not a real example. But you will see that there is a log file created there, and here it is, this log file, and invalid drive specification. But there's all our commands that would be, if I did have an X drive staging, those would be running and doing our copy commands. So then after that, all we do is, monitor progress and then clean up, check results, including file counts. So what I would do is I would go to that X drive staging, and I would right click like this and check properties and take a look at the file size and the file counts. And you'll find they're not quite the same if you're copying to SharePoint, because SharePoint has some special files that are sort of hidden, but you should be fundamentally the same. And also check your log file that you generated here. So that's about it for our file migration process and using the migration tool here. Kind of closing tips here. First of all, recognize that this will take some time. This migration process has some time built into it. You might want to look at that as a way to approach things using a staging area. Also, notice on this main tab that this echo command, xcopy, and command flags are already there, but you can change that command to anything you want. So it might be a straight copy, or it might be a rename, or that sort of thing, depending on the commands you want to generate. And so if I made this a rename and got rid of the flags, then the command generated when I recalculate with F9 would be that rename command. And you need to mess around with the formulas a little bit to make that work, but it's entirely doable and not too difficult. So real powerful stuff. I've also got a PowerPoint on SlideShare on the process I use for file migration. So it's back to this process here in a PowerPoint format. Other than that, please be welcome to contact me at help@lightlever.ca or give me a call. My contact information is at lightlever.ca. Hope you enjoyed this tool, and hope it saves a lot of time and money for you. Thanks for listening.